Welcome to the AG News Show. I'm your host, Roberto Alvarez-Galloso, serving you the best in all genres of music. I have here with me one of the greatest jazz musicians, saxophonists in America. There are others, but there's also none like him. Every time I hear him, it's like Paquito Rivera again. And I love Paquito Rivera.
Thank you.
And you did a cover on All I Do.
Yes.
And it's getting a lot of great reviews.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do All I Do?
Well, one of the things that I've always been a huge fan of Stevie Wonder, and I wanted to try to do something that nobody else had really done. I've heard, everybody, I wish, and oh my God, I was hard pressed trying to find something that wasn't covered 20 million times. But because Stevie Wonder has such a plethora of a library of music that he's created over the years, over the decades. So I came across All I Do, and I really enjoyed it. Of course, I'd heard Layla Hathaway's version that she did, which was amazing, and it had, of course, Kirk Whalum on sax. And I said, it'd be really nice to try to do this, but all sax, not just a sax solo. So I gave it a shot. I put it in. I started working on it here in my studio. Put the track together, and I wish I could say that this was like one of those things that took weeks and time. Man, I came into the studio like early in the morning one day. I decided I finally found a song, and by about 10:30 at night, it was done. I mean, all I needed to do then was do some mixing and some mastering, but I had really everything completely done. And I was, during this whole craziness that we've had with this COVID and everything else, a lot.
Don't mention it, please. Don't mention it. Let's just simply concentrate on the music. I don't need.
Oh no, because it's. I was saying because a lot of us musicians during that time, we've been doing a lot of covers, for the live streams and everything else, and that was the initial thought that I was doing. It was just like something to do for, to do a little video and put it out there, put a couple of minutes. And then when I heard it, I was like, this is something here. There's something to this. And I let my wife listen to it, and she was like, well, this is not just a little track. You really need to release this. And I did. It took a while just to get all the licenses and everything else, because it is a cover and it is originally from Stevie Wonder. I have to give him credit for such an amazing song. And within a couple of weeks we got it. I released it about about a month ago. And oh my God, what was it? Last week I see that it had charted on the top 50 charts of the indie smooth jazz artists. And it premiered on number 40 for last week for the first time, and now this week we're up to 36. So we creeped up a little bit. You're gonna
be a success with this. I see you doing All I Do, and you know what? I'm gonna dare to make a prediction. It's a wild one. I'm gonna make it. I have the feeling that after you do All I Do, you're gonna do a Paquito Rivera cover, Christmas Without You, if you haven't done it yet.
No, I hadn't thought about that one. Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, every time you're one of my huge supporters, and I can't thank you enough. And anytime you put my name next to Paquito Rivera, I feel like those are huge shoes to step into.
It's one of my biggest favorites, along with Dave Rubin. I don't limit myself to country or to rock. I love country and rock, but I do everything. I also love all other types of music, and one of them is jazz. And one of my favorites has been Paquito Rivera. Not only before, number one, when he was with Iraquere, but after he left Cuba, he started blooming, and I heard some of his albums, which he signed with Columbia. Then later on,
Yes.
the rest. His best work was in the 80s. And
Yes.
and I have his albums, Manhattan Burn, Celebration, and I was thinking, after all I do, you're gonna do, and I hope one day to hear it, Christmas Without You, because it was one of those songs that reminds me, I mean, I still hear it, and it takes me back to Miami in the 80s.
That's a great song. You know what? I'm starting to come up with ideas for the Christmas songs because I definitely got to get into the season. You know, people think that just you do that like a couple of weeks before the season, and they don't understand it takes a while to get everything going. So I'm actually running a little late. I think that would be one of the great songs. I have in my right now. I am working on 2 more releases of the singles because I really wanted to go something really classic. So I got the permissions. I just got the permissions to do Joe Cocker's "Little Help with My Friends" and the Beatles' "Hey Jude."
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to give it, of course, you know, my background being as I before heavily influenced with the rock. So I really want to keep the rock edge, not make it as jazzy with especially with "Hey Jude." So I'm really working on that, and I think we've got something really, really nice there. That I'll send you a couple of clips of some teasers.
Great. We're gonna be ready. You're not the only one who has to prepare for Christmas. This Labor Day weekend and this September, I'm gonna probably be recording all of my stuff for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, you got to. I mean,
I'll be doing this Labor Day weekend because just the same way you have the jazz and you have to record, I have to do all of my other stuff. I have to bring all of my other Christmas specials, the whole bit, the readings, the caricatures, the whole bit. And then Halloween, who knows? I have to get everything ready. But
absolutely.
But in addition to Christmas Without You, maybe you could do another Paquito Rivera cover, like from the album Gdansk.
Wow, yes. You know, one of the ones, I love Paquito as a saxophonist. He's an amazing saxophonist, but even more, I mean, to each one, but I absolutely think that he is a monster when it comes to the clarinet. And he has just done some amazing songs, and I've listened to a couple of them. One of the ones that I really love that he did was Moonlight Over Miami.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, back in that was I think it was one of the ones that he released with Columbia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was the first that he released with Columbia.
Yeah, great. I mean, that whole album is amazing, but that song specifically is just amazing what he did. And like I said, his tone is. I'm a saxophonist barely. I can barely play the saxophone, as I say. When it comes to clarinet and flute, those things, no soloist by any means. And I really admire him as an amazing clarinetist as well.
Don't underestimate yourself. You're not barely. You're not barely. You're more than barely. Come on. Give yourself some credit. I've seen you do saxophone in the church. Excuse me, God. But you have done much more saxophone outside of the church. You played with the greatest. You've played with 3RG Miami. How am I going to forget the duo that I saw in the video of Rilo singing with the Mabel of Instant Karma in the Key Largo sunlight, and you playing the saxophone. What a beautiful video and what a beautiful interpretation. Come on. I hear you. Not only do I hear all of your covers. They're great. I wake up very early in the morning. I have like a headache because I have to do my work, and then like I hear the saxophone. I'm like, wow, no more headache.
Thank you so much.
I'm dealing with all of the stupidity that we have here nowadays, which I'm not going to talk about. And I hear your music, and you're not less than a saxophonist. You're one of the greatest.
Thank you.
Give yourself the credit. In addition to 3RG Miami, the duo with which Rilo did the duo with Mabel Garcia of Instant Karma. You were there with other people. Believe me, you're one of the greatest.
Thank you. And it's really, I think that it's, for us, for many of us musicians, we're always looking ahead and kind of looking at the other greats, and and like I said, the only thing we can do, and I think as we were talking briefly on something else, the great Ed Kaye was saying the only thing we can do is try to be better each day than we were yesterday as musicians, and that's one of the things is. For a very long time, you would not believe it, but I could not even stand to hear myself recorded on my recordings. There's a lot. I still don't like to listen to myself too much, believe it or not. I'll listen to Ed, I'll listen to Paquito, and I hear my recordings, and I'm like, oh no, I can't believe I did that. And it's one of those things, but at the same time, you recognize the product that you do, and I have a lot of pride in the product that I put out. But it's like one of those internal mechanisms that, I could always do it better. I could always do it better. And I think that's what helps us stay ahead of the game, I guess you could call it, and be able to play.
We're always going to be ahead of the game. Not only you in the saxophone. Many people look at me doing these types of shows and interviewing everybody, and they think, wow, this is very easy. There are times when I can't even hear. Look, when I do my videos in restaurants, or when I do interviews, I love them. When I'm in four walls, unless I'm interviewing somebody, I don't listen to it, because like four walls alone, like ugh.
Exactly.
But in reality, I'm always constantly improving. I'm finding newer artists. I'm cleaning up the attic with the ones that no longer are doing anything, and bringing in newer artists and renewing those who exist, who deserve. You're a great saxophonist. Never underestimate yourself.
It's always, like I said, it is getting accolades for somebody like yourself and so many people. It's how can I put it? It lets you know that you're on the right path. Let's put it that way. That you're doing something right, and it's reassuring, and this is why we sit in, like you do, I'm sure you just don't show up to an interview just like out of willy-nilly. You actually prepare for it. You have to do
of course.
There's so much work behind the scenes that go on before the interview. Actually, most of the work is behind the scenes before the interview ever happens. And the same thing is with music. Before we ever get up on stage or we record, there's so many things that happen beforehand. And people a lot of times don't see that. And when you get the accolades and everything else, it's kind of a reassurance that you're on the right path and that you're doing something right, and that all the work and the effort is well worth it.
Of course, like you said, you prepare for this, and you also prepare for your concerts. I prepared for this a week before, and I'm also prepared for other artists. Yesterday I was interviewing 5 artists, and I had to listen to their YouTubes, look at their YouTube videos, compare previous with the no previous. It is not easy.
No.
It's not easy.
Like I said, everybody sees what happens in front of the screen, but they don't see what happens behind everything that I love when like with a new town or something, and they listen to your music for the first time because it just so happened that it got to that market, and they think that you're just an overnight success, and they're like, really, I've been working at this so long.
No, there's no such a thing as an overnight success. The thing is, you get started at an early age or later on, and then somehow you're discovered, and then they call you an overnight success, but you've already been preparing yourself.
For 10 years or more, yes.
Look at the Beatles. Look at the Beatles. The Beatles burst out into the scene in the 1960s. They became world famous in 1962 at Love Me Do in Europe, and then in 1964 they conquered America.
Yeah.
But before that, in 1955 in Liverpool, a historic event happened, and it is still recorded in Liverpool. in a street corner. It says, "Here is where John and Paul met."
Wow.
John Lennon and Paul McCartney. I'm not referring to any other John or Paul. This is where John Lennon and Paul McCartney met and started what was later on to become the Beatles.
Well, yeah, I heard what story that I read. I can't remember from who was the author on it, but they said that they met from 55. In 57, they were actually trying. They had gotten together. They were really trying to do it, and one of the first music labels that heard him play and told him, "You guys should really quit. You're not going anywhere. You kind of pretty much, for all intents and purposes, suck." And they, those are one of those moments that you can, either accept the rejection and just say, "Okay, yeah, we're in the wrong," or say, "Hey, I really believe in what we're doing," which they did. And look, 7 years later, they conquered Europe, and then another 2 years later, they were all over basically.
Yeah, and the person who said that they sucked was probably regretting it later on.
Oh, I could only imagine. Can you like imagine being that manager for the label and saying, "Oh yeah, I saw these guys, they totally stunk. I didn't sign them. No, there's no way." And then waiting a couple of years later and seeing them on front and going like, millions of sales just gone out the window. So, absolutely, and this is one of the segues into one of the things that, for as much of where we get into a point in our music where we start getting, people recognition and a lot of people giving, musicians for a lot of the part usually end up, quote unquote, playing for other musicians. You're either playing with bands or you're playing and unfortunately, many musicians can be very, very harsh with other musicians, and sometimes they think of it as constructive criticism, call it what you will, but you face a lot of negativity. And the chorus of most musicians that have made it had received a lot of negativity before they ever make it or doing anything professionally. And I think it just and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of artists, when they're out there and they receive accolades like you're giving me and stuff, there's like that little part of us that for so many years received all the negativity, and all of a sudden you get all this positivity. It's refreshing. It's amazing. I cannot express how grateful it makes us feel, at least me, myself. But at the same time, it's like, wow, you look back at everything that you went through to get to this point.
We've received the same thing in journalism and blogs.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I was a physician in the Dominican Republic, and I also received a lot of that when I was a physician there. But right now, in the present, and before that, when I got into journalism and blogging, I received a lot of negative feedback, a lot of criticism, wherever I did all the coverage. And even then, I kept going. Even the last years, battling against other competition, even at a time when my YouTube was going down, I still continued. Now my YouTube is coming back up, along with all of my other platforms. And the thing is, this is going to happen to us constantly. We're going to be having our ups, we're going to be having our downs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we're seeing you, and Luis, just like I'm experiencing a rebirth right now, you're now experiencing a rebirth as well.
Yes.
You're experiencing a rebirth. We're seeing a Luis Salas that is showing independence even with his cover. And
yeah,
you've gone much more farther than when you've been here in Miami. You still live in Georgia, right? And you live near...
Yes, I'm right outside Atlanta, south of Atlanta. Still in they call it the metropolitan Atlanta area, absolutely.
Great. How is the Atlanta music scene compared with the Miami music scene?
Oh, wow. How can I put this? I love Miami, please. I am a Miami person. I am proud to be from Miami. But the live music scene in Miami, unfortunately, has suffered a lot over the last few years. where if you're not basically a cover band, you really don't have a place to play. All the bands are basically, playing all the great covers, and they're amazing musicians, and a lot of them, as you well know, like even with 3RG, a lot of great original music, but you only get to slide those in on occasion, because if you do start doing too many covers, the ownership said, no, keep it with the covers, So here in Atlanta, it's very different in so many ways. This is one of those few places that I've been in the world where you could go down in downtown Atlanta and you'll have a jazz club, a rock club, a bluegrass club or bar, and a hip-hop bar, and all of them are filled with a completely eclectic crowd, and they're intermingling from one place to the other with live music and some of the most amazing musicians. Honestly, I was blessed that Miami does have some absolutely amazing musicians. But I always told one of the things is that most of the best musicians that Miami has rarely play in Miami. Like we were talking about Dr. Ed Kaye. I mean, come on, the guy that I hope to be able to whittle his reed someday at the caliber that Ed is, just a monster technician and saxophonist. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy that, unless it's like one of the festivals or something, doesn't really play out in Miami. He's everywhere else, and it's just because the venues don't appreciate that the level of musicianship. And there's a lot of that happens because some musicians just say, you know what, I'm going to play what I play. I'm not going to be playing the covers. I'm not going to be playing. I want to do my music. And unfortunately, a lot of venues don't give that. And like I said, here in Atlanta, I have to say that I hit it with, God bless me, with an amazing opportunity. In fact, I was just talking yesterday, I did a show last night with a local band as some of the places are starting to open up. And I said, one of the things I had to do here in the last couple of weeks as the places are starting to reopen is I've had to network with some of the local musicians, because I got here in September of 2018. And by October 1st of that same, just a month later, I had already landed my residency at the St. Regis Hotel, where I was doing my weekly show. And, don't get me wrong, that's an amazing opportunity and blessing. But it also closed me up because I developed my band, which I really, again, it's amazing musicians. Aaron Clay, who's the bassist for Bobby Brown, and then some amazing artists. I got Marcus Williams on drums, who's People Bryson's and drummer, and Candy Statton's son and producer. Amazing. Michael Westbrooks, who was original keyboardist for Whitney Houston, mm-hmm. and Landon Jordan, who's an amazing guitarist for Snoop Dogg, of all things. And, with a core group like that, there's nothing under the sun that you can't play or do and everything else. But what happened is got kind of closed up, and now as things are starting to progress, we're really I said, I need to start networking with a lot of the more local. So out here in the south part of Atlanta, outside of the perimeter of 285, places are starting to slowly open up, and I've just been able to network. I'm one of I'm one of those guys. They've heard the name thrown around. They know that there's a sax player out here who has, played around and has toured, but nobody knew exactly who I was. So now I showed up in a couple of places, and I've landed some great shows. And like you said, it's almost like a rebirth. It's kind of a reset and opening up a lot of different opportunities, playing a lot of different music, and almost like a blessing in disguise, because it's opened up a whole new crowd to me. And now with this with All I Do doing what it's doing in the charts, some of these people do follow the smooth jazz, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're such and such, right? You did that song that I was listening to on the radio station." And I was just like, yeah, that's me. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing playing here? We didn't even know. It's like, yeah, I'm local. I'm here. I live here in town. So again, it's really interesting. But Atlanta is really an eclectic town because, again, it doesn't matter the style of music. There is a place that not only plays it, but they have it live, real live music.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I'm
very glad for you. I'm very happy. You deserve all the best.
Thank you.
And as I said, not only Paquito Rivera, I'm going to add another challenge to you, if you don't mind.
Hold on, I'm going to get a pen. I'll write this down because the list is getting long and distinguished. Shoot, which was the next one?
Okay. Three songs from Michael Jackson.
Okay.
One is "The Lady in My Life."
I've done that. I do it in my shows.
I've done it. I've heard it, and I love it. Maybe you could redo it, but I did love it. I dedicated that rendition. I dedicated that song, the cover, to my wife Marilia, because that was our song when both of us were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh my gosh!
In the Dominican Republic. That was when we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and then we got lost, and then we reunited 20 years later.
Wow!
But that was our song, "The Lady in My Life."
Definitely.
And also, let me see what the other one. Human Nature. I don't know if you did Human Nature.
You know what? We do something in our show that we kind of throw it in, kind of the Miles Davis kind of rendition of it.
Yeah, I love Miles Davis.
I love his rendition of that song. And we do something, but again, both Lady of My Life and Human Nature played them in my shows. I've never recorded it, so you know what? That's something I could definitely do.
Yeah, Miles Davis. In addition to Paquito Rivera, I do love Miles Davis, his trumpet, the way he did all the trumpet, and all the time he did the jazz from the beginning to now. I did have a Miles Davis moment when I went to China during the Olympics. The Chinese, when we didn't have this sort of thing, they dedicated to me the Miles Davis and Santana duo.
Oh wow!
The one they had a recording from the what was it, Amnesty International, which they did the duo. Plus they also had another Miles Davis CD that they played, in which this was a Miles Davis CD that I think you might have known. I know it, but many other people do not know it. Miles Davis was in Japan in 1975, and he recorded a lot of jazz funk. And he did a lot of jazz funk in his life, but this one was a jazz funk that went over jazz funk as it is. And they also played it to me as a dedication. When I returned to the States, I managed to get the Miles Davis Japan CD. I still have it, and I also managed to get the duo with Santana.
Is that the album that he plays Witch's Brew in it?
No, Bitches Brew was in 1970. This was one in which he was in Japan. I think it was called Agar Seek or something like that. 1975.
Okay. I gotta check that one out.
So I managed to buy when I came back from China. I bought it here in Barnes and Noble. Aside from that, I just want to wish you the best, and I wanted to thank you for coming to the AG News Show. And we're going to give you a big prize. According to FTC rules, I also have to reveal the content of the prize and everything because I have to.
I love it.
This is a caricature of myself done by Reynold de Cuba. Personally, Reynold de Cuba is Rembrandt's Cuba's version, today's Cuba's version of Rembrandt, Da Vinci, and Goya. And since the FTC and all of the conflict of interest laws say that I have to reveal it, he's my first cousin. But I'm not promoting it because he's my first cousin or that because he did this caricature. He also, I'm promoting it because he's a great caricaturist. So, anyone who wants to go to Cuba, which I'm not gonna make any comments about it, but those who want to go to Cuba and wish to go to Cuba, go and get your drawing by Reynald de Cuba. I didn't have to go to Cuba. I already went to one communist country as it is, China. I'm already content with what I have already. I'm just content with coming here to Florida and then going to see you one day in Atlanta, Georgia, or hoping to you to come here with the Galloso band or the Atlanta band or whatever.
I definitely, we're trying to put it, as soon as I hear that I have my team just on hold, if you hear of any of the venues for shows starting to open up, please let me know, because we're starting to get, some places that are getting ready to open. Like I said, this year, we thought it was going to be the year. We had 28 theater shows set up for this year. It obviously got canceled, and supposed to play at the Montreal Jazz Festival with Candy Staton and her son at the Montreal Jazz Festival this year. And we're so looking forward to it. Obviously, everything happened, but everything happens for a reason. I firmly believe that. So, like I said, I do see the new rebirth, like as you called it, and I'm really excited to see what the future brings. I'm excited to hopefully be able to play back down in Miami again, and actually put on a show, smaller venue or something, but definitely want to do it sometime in 21. So, really looking forward to it.
This is more than just a rebirth. We're doing a rebirth of rebirths. Many people thought our gigs are up, we have nothing. And here people want to hear your music, they want to hear every other people's music. 3RG Miami, Rilo was just recently interviewed. And I'm interviewing people right and left, jazz, country, rock, you name it, even the Christian artists I'm interviewing. Even the artists from the 1980s, the ones that were really big, I'm interviewing them. My own cousin I have another cousin who's a soap opera actress. And this is another relative. Some of her fellow actresses and actors are now being interviewed in my program in Instagram Live and Facebook Live. And I began 2020 with the idea, well, with the way things have been going with YouTube, that I decreased in numbers, I might as well pull the plug on the YouTube. And now the numbers are increasing in Instagram, they're increasing in YouTube, they're increasing in Facebook. Just like they're increasing with you, they're increasing with me. Of course I missed the era in which I could record in restaurants, record in hotels. I also missed the era in which I could record next to Instant Karma and interview them, or interview you in a bar or in a restaurant. I missed those eras.
Well, I think that they're around the corner again. We're going to get through this, and we'll be back to some.
But right now,
I really believe that.
Yeah, but right now I'm living the present. What's the present? I'm growing.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm taking it, and I'm planning to take this to the next level, which means all jazz artists that want to be interviewed in the AG News Show, I'll gladly interview them in Facebook Messenger, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, and any other channels that are live. We will gladly interview. We have everything ready to interview and promote true music, which is jazz. Of course, in the other programs that I have, like the Americana Bistro Grill for the country and rock, I'm also inviting the country and rock stars to be interviewed in the Americana Bistro Grills. But the ones who are doing jazz, hip-hop, reggaeton, reggae, you name it, and you have it in Atlanta, they're all invited.
Awesome. I definitely will spread the word.
The more, the merrier. And I'm also leaving you my YouTube channel after I finish here. Just wanted to say it was a pleasure and an honor having you here, Luis. And
thank you. It's always a pleasure.
This is not going to be the last time. We're going to be having more interviews as you record more covers or even compose your own jazz music. Never underestimate yourself. You're the greatest.
Thank you.
I listen to you. I listen to your music, and at times I feel a lot better.
Awesome.
So
That is, I was talking to it just really quick before we go. One of my musicians posted a song from one of the artists, and it was just something so simple but so touching. And one of the words that came to my mind is, as musicians, I speak to myself, is a lot of times we try to either, you can say show off or just do music to show how complex we can make it and how we can play it. But at the end of the day, music is about how far deep we can touch the listener's soul. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's about hearing and hearing something like you're saying that, hey,
hello? Hello?
oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm here. Let's just finish this up before they disconnect me.
Okay. All right, brother. Hey, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. It means the world to me. And like I said, we'll be in touch as soon as we get a showdown back in Miami.
And I'll let you know if any shows, but please, I challenge you to all of those covers that I mentioned, and I also challenge all Atlanta artists for rock and country that could come to the Americana Bistro Grill. But for the jazz, the hip hop, the reggaeton, reggae, all others, the AG News Show. We're even going to accept classical artists, Baroque, Renaissance,
Nice.
even Gregorian chants.
Nice. Very nice.
We need a lot of. If you know of anyone in Atlanta that does Gregorian chants, we will gladly accept them.
That is a challenge. I have not heard many gigs with Gregorian chant, but I'm sure I can find one at some point.
I'm trying to fight Gregorian chants and organs in Wyoming, but that's another issue. That's another issue.
That's a whole other show together.
I know, but
well, brother,
you take it easy right now. You take it easy, and my best wishes.
you too.